record. Hi everyone. So welcome back to the Double Cross Anime. S- so sorry that we have been we took a short break,
Yeah,
but it wasn't because of our lack of interest in doing the postcard. It was more because that we have something like some real life commitment to attend to.
yeah. I had some
So it
family stuff going on.
All right, so it's our intention to like to do this regularly from now on, hopefully.
Agreed.
So for this particular podcast, we're gonna just give our final impressions on those shows uh, from the uh, from the winter seasons.
Yes.
Specifically would be Darling in the Franxx, episode 9 to 12, After the Rain, 10 to 12, the last four episodes of Violet Evergardens, and the last two episodes of Kokuku. Before we give our personal top five for the last season,
Oh, we are
and
doing that.
we're going to doing that,
Okay.
yes.
Awesome. Great.
And finally, we will review our new classics anime, which is the first five of Rose of Versailles.
Yes.
All right,
Indeed.
so
I'm excited for that.
Whooper, which one you like to start first?
Great question, Mario. Thank you very much for that introduction. Um, let's start with After the Rain. I think that's the best show of the winter season. I think you and I probably agree on that. But
All right,
what we might not agree on is whether the show wrapped up satisfyingly. So let's start there.
all right. I'm pretty sure this is my favorite show of the last seasons.
Yeah.
And yep. So just like your question, do you like how the show wrap up? How you
I did.
personally feel about that? All
I
right.
did. Yeah. You and I have been going back and forth on this show for the entire season. We both
Mhm.
recognize that it's probably the best produced, probably telling its story the best. I mean, it's head and
Mhm.
shoulders to me above everything else in the winter season. But the thing that I was constantly bringing up as we were doing these podcasts is I'm afraid the show's going to wimp out on the romance. Or to put it differently, I'm afraid that the show is going to lose focus on it or that it won't end up being the most important thing. And
It
well,
does. It did. Quite
yeah,
a bit.
I think it did. Yeah, there was no obviously they didn't get together. I wasn't after a certain point I wasn't expecting that at all.
Hmm.
But it did turn out to be pretty romance heavy. Like she didn't go back to the track team and just spend the last few episodes chilling with all her friends and like quit her job and like the show it wasn't desperate to get away from the Tachibana condo romance.
Hmm.
They just they had the nice little scene together at the end and they mutually recognized that they couldn't be together now, but once they had taken care of the promises that they had made, things that they had to do in each of their lives, then maybe someday they would reunite. Maybe they could come back together. And I was happy with that. How about you?
All right. I was like, just for your information, for the last three episodes from episode 10 to 12, like the plot going a bit away from the romance. So instead, they focus on each of the individuals' issues. So Tachibana with her track records, with her track, what she want to do with her track, and Kondo with what he want to write.
Right.
So for me, I like the ending. I do feel it's a bit lackluster. So I want it to be more like powerful.
Uh
But
huh.
overall, I'm happy with the ending point with that.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like we both were, which is good because we were constantly talking about, you know,
Well, like you,
is it gonna go there?
yeah, that's
And
right.
if it doesn't, will that be okay? Will it pull it off in a different way?
And I feel that I feel that the climax when Tachibana like literally like spring into him into a condo, it was pretty good.
Yeah, and
It was really satisfying.
yeah, I thought so too. I got chills during that scene. And I actually, the reason I like it in particular is because it kind of mirrors the scene where she, uh, remember when she's at the trade station in like episode 4 or 5,
Yep.
and she
Yeah,
kind
yep.
of in her mind's eye she sees herself turning around and like running to the manager.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
So
Yep.
this is a mirror of that because I'm pretty sure that he was imagining Tachibana
Mm-hmm.
turning around and running to him. Because the way that the show, after that scene is over, the way that the show cuts uh,
Yep.
immediately to her, like at it from a distance, looking back at him, it seems to
Mm-hmm.
me that he imagined that. And of course, she was running on clouds and stuff too, so that obviously wasn't real.
Oh, is it? Oh, I always thought that it was real.
You did?
I did. I did.
Oh,
Actually, I did.
I don't think so. I mean,
I, I,
go ahead.
yeah, I did think that she literally just run back into him.
But after
But
after that scene ends, like she kind of buries her head in his chest, and the camera, the background kind of dissolves into being
yep.
clouds. So they're like standing in the sky. A lot of anime do that, and the
After the
camera
rain.
the camera kind of zooms around him a little bit, and then after that's over, when the show cuts away, she's immediately like I don't know 10 feet away from him, or something.
All right, but whether it was real or not, it doesn't affect much. Like I still love that moment very much.
Yeah, me too. But the reason that I think that it's kind of important that it's not real is because then it acts as as like a bookend to the scene where she imagines that sort of thing happening
Hmm.
much earlier in the show. And
And
if
yep,
it's in his imagination, that's like an even clearer demonstration of the fact that he really does love her.
that's right. That's
Like
right.
if he had done that mentally instead of it being a mutual thing, if it was like all him in that particular moment. Um, so I do agree that whether or not it happened, it does wrap things up pretty satisfyingly.
Hmm.
About as well as it could, because you can't really commit to uh,
Making them into a real romance.
yeah, not with 30 years between them.
Their age.
It doesn't really work.
Well, I think the show really like get away with that. So like it's not really about romance between them, but about like two unhappy people come to find like love to each other, and it's not like the romantic love. It's like mutual trust
Oh,
to each other.
I think it's romantic love.
Uh,
The
uh,
show it went out of its way to portray it as romantic and even sexual love.
well,
Mostly on her part.
yeah, that's from the beginning though. It's like toward the end, toward the last few like 3 or 4 episodes. It's more about like friendship
Yeah,
than
it is more about
romantic.
friendship. Yeah. And that's like okay, episode 10 for example.
Hmm.
That's the one where they go to that book fair.
Yeah, right. Hmm.
Cuz she's like let's go to the book fair and you can help me pick out books. So obviously this is like a ploy on her part to get him to come along.
Hmm.
This isn't something he needs to be there for. He can like text her
Hmm. Hmm.
recommendations. So anyway, so, blah 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 stuff happens, and he wants to buy a book, and the guy's like, "I'll give you a free postcard if you buy the
Hmm.
book at full price." So he lets Tachibana pick out the postcard, and she gets one that says, "Let's meet again when the season comes around."
Oh, right,
So
right.
that's like a clear message that
Yep.
that's what's going to be going on between the two of them. They will meet again when the season, as in when she gets older, or when they've
Uh,
taken care of their promises or obligations, comes around.
and as in after the rain as well, after the rainy seasons.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Because they're kind
Yeah,
of they're kind of in a rainy part of their lives,
yeah, that's right.
and so after they dedicate themselves to clearing those clouds, doing what it is
Hmm.
that they need to do. Um,
They can
then
come
they'll
back together.
Yeah, but here's the thing: they're not going to get back together. Like in real life, that's
That's
just not happening.
uh, I hope that they don't get back together, because it's more like real life than like if they go back together.
Yeah. I mean, I want them to be together still. Uh,
Still,
I know it's not appropriate, and I know that it's not realistic.
well, it how you say it's not appropriate. It just because of the age now, and when they go back together after a few years, Tachibana will be much older now than she is now.
Well, yeah, but then he'll be like a dinosaur.
All right, but that still happen in real life.
Yeah,
Mm.
I know. I mean, my aunt is married to someone who's 30 years older than she is, and they've
Mm.
they've been together for a long time. But I mean, it typically doesn't work, right? I don't know what the statistics
Uh,
on that are.
well, it just depend on the two of them. It's not depend on the age of them. So for me, I different is not that much of an issues.
Oh, okay. Well,
All right.
then I hope they get back together, but they probably won't, because
Yeah,
they're gonna move on with their lives.
that's right.
Did
And
she didn't quit her
yeah,
job, right?
she didn't quit her job. No,
Yeah.
they left it pretty like open ended as well. So
Yeah.
it's like they haven't really shown anything. Like she it very unclear that she will be back on the track. But I think I think she will.
Yeah, she definitely will. That's the thing, that's the promise, that's the obligation that she has to fulfill when they're
Yeah,
talking about, someday after we've done such and such, we'll meet again.
yeah. And also a thing is like there I I remember there is like 30 or 40 like chapters left.
No, the
Uh,
manga's over.
yeah, the manga is over, but I mean like the anime adaptations. So I was pretty sure that in the episode 11 there was like still 40 chapter left. So like they have like the last episode to really wrap up everything.
I don't think that's right, because the manga is only
Yeah,
58 chapters total.
58.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I gonna have a look on the manga to see like how the manga wrap up everything, because
Well,
I do think like this is the anime original ending, or
yeah.
it's like it picked the uh one part of the manga to end it, so it's not the manga ending. That's what I mean.
No. I mean, we don't even know what the manga ending is yet, because the
That's
last
right.
two chapters haven't been released in English. Although I'm pretty sure they're out in
Oh,
Japan.
yep.
But I mean, after episode 7, I think, it was already 30 chapters in. And
Mm.
I've looked at the manga to see, I just looked at like the last chapter, chapter 56, to see if it matches up kind
Yeah.
of with what we've gotten so far, and it does not. So
Mm.
there's definitely a section of the manga at the end, stretching, I don't know how many chapters, maybe 10 or something like that, maybe
Mm.
more, that were not adapted. But I
All right.
like the ending that we got.
All right. So other questions for you. Is there any issues that you find for about After the Rent?
Any issues?
Issues, yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think that her the disconnect between her and her friends on the track team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Haruka.
really. Yeah, Haruka and whoever else. Like that's the thing. It's mainly Haruka, and even her relationship with Haruka is not like, it doesn't receive so much focus that you really feel bad, or I didn't anyway. I didn't really feel bad for at their situation. I didn't feel bad for Haruka, who was kind of being frozen out by Tachibana, and I didn't feel bad for Tachibana for like leaving the team. I didn't get the sense that she really regretted it.
All right,
So
I have to disagree with you on that. Since for me, the last few episodes they focus too much on Haruka's and Tachibana's issues.
they
For
focus too
me,
much on it.
for my taste, for that's what I feel.
Yeah, well, I agree.
And yeah, and what else? I now looking back, you remember Kase, the character, the blonde
Yes.
dude.
The guy who
Uh,
blackmails Tachibana into going on a date with him, right?
that's right. I think his role is not that much relevant anymore. So I
He
think.
has a whole different thing in the manga.
Oh, right.
He's got an expanded storyline.
Oh, so that make more sense because like in the anime he just like one off character and I don't really appreciate that much.
Right. Yeah,
I,
I remember that was episode 4. I was more okay with that one than you were,
mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm,
his character definitely fell off the face of the earth after that episode. So it seems kind of like a botched
yeah,
introduction for him.
that's right because like he used to be a background character and then for that particular episode he become like a main character and
Right.
then afterwards he just become a background character again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that seemed like a misfire in
yeah,
retrospect. One other
and
thing that I want to note is that episode 10, I'm almost
mhm.
positive was outsourced to another studio.
Oh,
I'm
worse.
I'm nearly I don't know for sure. It's
Mm,
sometimes hard to find that information,
right.
because
Mm.
I don't know. I guess anime productions like
Well,
they're kind of messy and they bring in people from all over the place, and I don't
um
know. Also, I can't read Japanese.
well I'm pretty sure with you that only like Kyoto Animations Studio is the only animation that doesn't outsource their episodes. Like
Yeah.
all the other anime studio, they outsource their anime like very regularly.
Yeah, usually when
If
you watch an anime by a certain studio, you'll see like 3 or 4 other studios in the credits.
yeah,
And
and
I
if
can't read the people's names, but it's clear that outsourcing is going on. That's why you see the other studios there.
there are 2 points on that, even to the point that there are some anime shows that entirely outsourced by other studios. So
Yeah,
that so it means like the studio that took it in doesn't do anything about it.
yeah.
And
That's typically like Toei or studios like that.
that's right. And the second thing was if you look at on the name in the end and you saw like on the there's some of alphabetical name like in the so that you see like some name in the Japanese characters and there was some name in the Latin like usual alphabetical named
Oh
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
that was Vietnamese studio, just so you know that's on Vietnamese name there and
What?
I have no
And After
idea
the
like
Rain?
in like in like in almost every shows I have noticed.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure that that studio what their main role is, but apparently there was some outsourced to Vietnam as well.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Okay. Uh, yeah. Speaking of
All right.
outsourcing, I think episode 10 was outsourced, and that put me
Mhm.
off quite a bit because Wit did a really good job with the production on this series. And
Yeah,
episode
like
10, that's the book fair one. There were a
mhm.
lot of scenes where I was just like, "Come on, guys, what's going on here?"
Well, for me the later part of episode 10 when Tachibana and Kondo talk together in the room. I think the visual there is pretty good.
Uh,
I I like
okay,
the visual there. All right.
all right. So
So you
we
want?
both like the show.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line, I guess. Despite any nitpicking that's been going on for the last 15 minutes or so,
Yeah.
I think we both think that this is the best show of the season.
That's right. I will rate it 9/10 in
Okay.
total.
I don't really have a rating for it. I just think it's good out of 10, and that you should watch it if you're listening to this.
All right. All right. Let's move on to the next house.
All right, which one should that be?
I was cool. Let's do this, man.
All right, I think you said in your introduction to the podcast that we were going to be doing the last 2 episodes. I think that we ought to do the last 3. I think
The
we left off at episode 9 last time,
Yeah, 9 to 12.
so I think it's 10 to 12 that we have to do.
All right, 10 to 12. So that's 3. Yes.
Yeah, that's so 10. We haven't discussed any of the Sagawa backstory stuff, right?
No, we haven't.
All right, yeah, that's 10 to 12 then that we're doing, because that's
Mm-hmm.
10 is when his backstory begins, like at the end of that episode, and then 11 is when he finishes it really fast before he turns into that brain
Uh,
cyclone thing.
I I would say he's more like a spider with only spider web.
Yeah, but that's after his body disintegrates and his brain like starts levitating and a tornado forms
Yeah.
underneath it.
Oh my god. Well, that's I have too many things to say about Kokuku, so
All right.
let's do it.
The thing I think last time we talked about the show, the thing that both of us were lamenting is that the show kind of got away from its what made it unique, which was the stasis
Mm-hmm.
and uh, like the depiction of a family that's totally messed up, just trying to navigate through a supernatural, unfamiliar landscape, and it
Mm-hmm.
just became about like fighting.
That's yep.
There's a scene in episode 10 where Sagawa like kind of says to himself, "Oh, I everyone's." Do you remember that scene where everyone's coming down different roads towards him, and he's like in the middle of the street,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
he thinks to himself, "Oh, I'd better give them a warm welcome." But
Yep.
he's doing it in kind of like a threatening way,
Mm-hmm.
and he just wants to test out his powers.
Yep.
So it kind of becomes about combat and about like weird, wacky sci-fi stuff towards the end. And I didn't really appreciate that.
Well, for my part, I think the show really fall apart when they introduced Sagawa as the main antagonist.
Yeah.
Before that, this was still fun. It was still like we don't know what to expect. But then afterwards, when they focus too much on Sagawa and their fight together, it just like you said, become like a generic action shows.
Yeah, and I mean, to its credit, the show does. Episode 12 is not an action thing, and I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't say that the show ever becomes like a shonen or anything. It's not a Boku no Hero. Let's use our powers to punch each other and compete in a tournament. It's
Yeah.
never like that, but it got too far away from what made it strong at first.
Yeah.
But episode 12 was a little interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I was for like half of episode 12, I was kind of like back on board with the show. The first half, when it's just Juri and her grandpa and baby
Yeah.
Sagawa.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Why did he turn into a baby? I
and
don't
and, and I,
understand.
I don't even get the reasoning that like he's not gonna be a threat anymore when he was in the baby form. I just don't get it at all.
What
I mean
don't you
like
get about it? Like you don't agree that he wouldn't be a threat?
I think that like based on he's still Shagawa, his memory will come back and he will be like like a threat because he was basically born in the static. And they just like gloss over all of these issues.
Wait, he wasn't
Just
born in stasis, was he?
the Sagawa the baby, yes.
Oh, the baby. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But
So
he is. It's true that he's just a little baby. Like,
yeah, but um I think he's uh um nah I'm just uh,
it might be safer to just.
kill him.
Well,
That's
yeah, but he's a little like. How are you going to do that to a baby?
uh, well, but he's not harmless. That's what I mean.
But he is as a small, tiny child who can't even like sit up by himself.
Well, but
He is harmless, and we learned that based on watching Juri and her grandpa take care of him for I don't know how many days,
Yeah.
160 something like that,
Mm-hmm.
until he was old enough to sit up and like take the force of her special attack that ejects people's specters.
Yep.
I
Well,
do.
ha-
I kind of agree that he's still a threat because he went through so many weird like metamorphoses and so many changes in the last few episodes. Like he went from being the Hulk to being a weird brain stem thing to being kind of like a spider and like some sort of cocoon with shooting out all those threads that are really sharp
Yep.
and you can cut stuff. That was all
Uh-huh.
very strange. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
maybe as a baby he could like destroy the earth or something, but I would have
That
done what Jury did.
all right. Um. All right. Tell me more about the episode 12.
I was interested in how strange, how different, like how kind of bizarre it was that it
Mm-hmm.
was a woman and her grandpa taking care of some supernatural child,
Mm-hmm.
um, and going about their everyday lives.
Mm-hmm.
But the when it started to fall apart for me was after she sent her grandpa home, and
Yeah.
she like the show was trying to depict her descent into madness because it was just her.
Yeah.
There was nobody else around. There was a baby, but you can't get a lot of conversational value out of a a 6 month old
Well, I actually really like that part of the shows
where she was
where
going
Julie is
crazy.
on alone. Yeah, and when she's starting to become crazy,
Right.
I think
She
it's merit.
yeah. Do it. So she does start to like go insane and she loses her will to live.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
that makes those little tentacle things come out of her because that's
Mm-hmm.
we've seen that happen to multiple people over the course of the
Yep.
show.
Yep.
So that happens and then that weird blue dragon shows up. Do you remember that?
Blue dragons.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
You don't? Oh,
Blue dragon.
yeah, it shows up twice in this episode. The first when she first loses her will to live,
Yeah.
uh, and she like starts to float up in the air. Oh, this blue dragon thing
Uh
flies
huh.
through, and she falls back down, and she's like, "Oh no, what happened?" And then immediately she starts to float again, and the tentacles start to come out again. That's when she kind of turns into a herald and like sees that blonde woman.
Uh huh.
Like that's when she can see. What am I trying to say? Like her mode of vision changes, and she can see someone else's specter like far away, and she goes over to them.
Yep.
But before all
Or
that happens, there's a blue dragon that shows up, and I don't understand what that was supposed to be.
I don't even remember that blue dragon. I will
Okay,
have a look on that again.
I might have
But
a picture of it.
how? But how do you think about the blonde girl? About the blonde woman?
The blonde woman, like the head of the founder of the Genuine Love Society, the actual founder.
No, 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 no. Is it? Is it her?
Yeah, she said, "Oh, it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
actually
yeah.
it was. I mean, my
She,
husband is the guy who was in stasis or whatever, but I'm actually the
her.
founder."
No, no, no. Her husband was the guy who made the stone.
Right,
And
but she's the founder of the Genuine Love Society.
alright.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. Yeah. What do you think about her?
Well, she was in the very first episode of the show,
Mm-hmm.
so the show came back around to her. But just because you put a character in the first episode and in the last episode, just because you create that sense of closure or that sense of a circle, everything coming back around.
Yeah. That
That doesn't mean that it feels good to watch.
that
It-
no, no. That's my point. Yeah. Like her appearance is more like a bookend. It's not. It's not the. It's not foreshadowing. S like everything had to foreshadow before, and like her appearance, her roles in the whole story. It just appear right at the end of episode 12.
Yeah. Well, the real
Oh
problem
my.
is that she shows up too late after you've stopped caring about everybody because the show is just nutty.
Yeah. Well, I actually would appreciate that if the baby Shagawa when he become adult he come back to rescue Juri. I think it could be a very good story.
Oh, I
But
hadn't considered that.
yeah, but then we had like the blonde girl out of nowhere.
Oh, you're totally right. That would have been way more interesting
Uh,
if Sagawa had come back and saved her.
yeah, that's well, I do think about it. I do expect that.
But
But
but instead we
yeah,
got some blonde lady.
that's right. And I have a question for you.
Okay.
R- do you think how many days, like how long, do grandpa and all the families Jury waiting for her.
Well, that's the thing, because at the very end of the show, the grandpa is like, this is after the blonde woman has sent Jury home. When
Mm-hmm.
she shows up at her house, her grandpa's there waiting for her, like
Yep.
at the landing, like right inside the doorway.
Yep.
And everyone says, "Oh, he said you'd be coming today."
That's yep.
I don't understand that. I definitely don't understand. How would he
Or
know the exact day when she would be coming back?
all right. I do have a theory about that.
Okay, lay it on me.
Or the things like they got stuck into one frame of like one frame of a time. So
Right.
like when everyone got stuck out of that frame, there will be on that day on that very same day. So basically, grandpa just waiting for that day. So that night, waiting for whole night, waiting for her.
So it would seem as though like no time at all had passed to her
That's
family.
that's right.
Okay, I'm not sure that I'm convinced by that, because it's
Be-
true that they all got frozen in stasis at the same time. But
Mhm.
why would you necessarily exit when you exit stasis? Why couldn't you go like a week into the future or a month into the future?
That was because they was stuck like in that particular time frame. So when they get out of it, it just continue on like usual. That's what my theory is. So
What you're saying? Go ahead.
so
Sorry.
but yeah, so basically everyone will be at the same age. Jury will be slightly older because he stay longer in the status.
Right.
But then it come as a contradiction because I remember the Sagawa baby had grown since. So I'm
Oh
not really
wait,
sure as well.
was Sagawa already like however old
I
he was, like 6 or 7
I
or 8?
I think he's become Makoto age, the same age of Makoto.
Are you
So
sure
it's
that
like
wasn't just in like the credits scene?
not really sure. You
Okay.
know, I watched it once. I
Yeah, me
watched it
too. I
like 2 weeks ago.
Okay. I don't remember when I watched it, but I didn't take like really detailed notes because I don't really care.
Yeah. Well, so what I think was, it just on that very same date. So it
Yeah,
doesn't
I
mean
mean,
much in real life.
I understand what you're saying, that because they were all frozen in the exact same time, that they would all get like time would be unfrozen and they would all get out at you know at the
Hmm.
same point in time, even if Jury had been frozen in time for however many, like half a year.
Yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, when that blonde woman sends Jury home, maybe the way the blonde woman's power works is she sends you into the future. Maybe
Hmm.
she doesn't just unfreeze time, making it so that everyone is exited at the same point of the continuum. Maybe
Yep.
she actually, rather than unfreezing stasis, maybe she sends the person like further down the continuum. I don't know how her
Yeah.
power works.
Well, that exactly why we don't know like how powerful she is. Like see how many rules she can break.
Well, she's the one who was born in stasis, um,
Yeah.
and so she's like all powerful, probably. I don't know, some kind of god.
Hmm.
But her character doesn't really have any sort of impact or personality because we hardly get to know her, and she just appears as a solution to Jury's problem.
Hmm. Well,
So 0 out of 10 would not watch again.
yeah. As a whole, I think Kokuko is a disappointment. So
Yeah, it was for me too.
it start out strong. It start out like very interesting. It like took our interest. Like it's hook. It's really hooked me. But then like in the middle of the way, it just like got gone off the road.
Right. Yeah, I think for me the beginning of the end was the scene where Sagawa says, "Oh, let me show you what it's like to like fuse with the Spectre," when he's talking to his goons, and then he kind of powers up for the first time.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was the top of the roller coaster, and then from then on it was just like a screaming descent
That's
back
that,
into
that's right.
back to
That's right.
Earth.
That I feel that as well.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
even in the end, you remember like the last time we talked about Makoto's special ability, that
Yeah.
he might control Sagawa as well, because Sagawa is now the heroes.
Right.
Turn turn out that it's not. Turn out that
Yeah. But
it just
I mean, I was
it
fine with
was very
that because
stressful.
he did end up having an ability.
Hmm.
That was the only thing I could like really predict, and that ended up being true. Um,
And I have no idea about Machima's special ability, like that why they show her ability without like using her ability at all.
it's probably because it's the age of Marvel superhero movies, and everybody needs a power, or else who cares?
All right, all right. I'm done complaining about Coco Goose.
Yeah, me too. Let's forget about it by talking about another show.
Right, let's get to what next.
I don't know, Darling in the Franxx or Violet Evergarden.
All
Do
right,
Violet?
Darling in the Franks.
Okay, Darling in the Franxx. So this will be episodes 9 to 12. A lot of
So
stuff
it's
to
like
talk about, I guess.
four of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll summarize them very quickly. Episode 9 is the one where Goro confesses his love for Ichigo. And he gets like Goro's trapped in the Klaxosaur and they have to rescue him.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 10 is the one where Zorome he spends time with that woman inside
city.
the city. Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode 11 is the one with the partner shuffle.
Yep. Yep.
And episode 12 is the most recent one where they go back to that facility. It's called the Garden, where kids are turned into parasites or whatever.
Yeah. All right.
You have a favorite of any of these?
They all very like like middle of the hill for me.
Okay. I really liked episode 11, and this is something that we've already talked about, not on the podcast, of course, but just
The,
outside of that,
yeah.
is the animation, the fight scenes in episode 11.
Yep.
I loved those. They had a very distinct look, at least to my eye. I'm pretty sure they brought somebody in specifically for those scenes. There was a lot of there were a lot of moments where both the camera and the characters in their Franks, their mechs, whatever, were moving at the same time. It created a very
Dynamic.
yeah, very dynamic and arresting. Like visually, I just was completely locked into the show in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just watched episode 12 today in preparation for our discussion, and it looked like total crap. It was just a bunch of people standing around talking, which is fine, but even the scenes where they were like walking down hallways, just in between frames, were missing. They're under some kind of crunch. I don't know what is going on, but I think there might be a trouble behind the scenes at the production of this show.
All right. Yeah, so the last couple of episodes they focus more on the members, each member of the whole team, the whole unit.
Yeah, yeah,
Specifically, last episodes they focus onto our main list, so 02 and Hero.
right.
And
But
what do
before,
you think
Go
what
ahead.
do you think about 02 problems, issues?
Oh,
Whatever?
I don't care about her. She's boring. She keeps saying over and over, like you're all gonna die, everyone's gonna die. This is all pointless.
And I had to kill all the clusters.
Yeah, got to kill the Klaxosaurus to become human.
Yeah, blah blah blah.
I don't care about
they,
her.
they do hint about her backstory. That's she was the devil. She was the Clashoshaw, or something
Well,
in between.
You see,
Red face.
yeah, you see that she's like a red oni.
Yeah, yeah.
The story of the red and the blue oni. Have you ever seen that in
Yep.
another anime?
Yep.
I think
I
Hero.
saw that. Sorry, I saw that in like 2 or 3 different anime already.
Yeah,
that
that's
story.
because it's a huge folk tale, or kind of a fairy tale in Japan.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure that Hero is the blue oni, because do you remember like at the very end when somebody 02 kind of goes into berserker mode, and
Mhm.
that red version of her, probably a hallucination on Hero's part, kind of rises up and starts to strangle him, and memories flood his mind.
Mm-hmm.
You see in one of the memories that a blue arm is turning the page of a children's book.
Mm.
So I'm pretty sure that he's a blue Oni, and that 02 is the red Oni, and that they've met in the past, and maybe not even just as like this red monster and this blue monster having fallen in love in the past, and now they're reuniting. I think she may have met him as a human before. Because she says like I just wanna, why don't you just disappear? I wanna become human, reunite with my real darling. But I think the reason that I think the reason she's attached to Hiro is because he's some sort of clone or some sort of experimental version of the person that she used to love.
All right.
He has like the other guy's DNA, or his own DNA, I guess, in him, and that's why. Remember when 02 first meets him, she says that she likes his scent or his taste or something like that. She like licks him. I think that's probably because he tastes like her, whoever she was in love with
previous
before.
partner. Yeah.
But
all right.
I wasn't a fan of that episode in general. Like all the scenes where they're walking around and seeing all the kids who are getting experimented on and stuff. Why were they allowed to do that? Why were they just unsupervised and allowed to walk around and discover all these secrets?
I think because it's automatically like functions, so like there's nobody to keep watch.
But if this is a society that's founded on like keeping people in the dark about its secrets, wouldn't you expect that they'd be chaperoned? Or that's why they have that bald guy and the woman with the reddish brown hair. They're like handlers.
Yeah, they don't seem to care as well. Well,
I'll tell you who doesn't care is me.
Yeah. that Lead in the Franks is the show that like I can watch for every week. But I don't have like any concrete thing to say about that. I don't have any like too much feeling to feel about the shows.
Yeah.
It's just a show that I don't think back much to it.
Yeah, and you would think that after this episode where like secrets are spilling out, Hiro she's confessing that she used to have some other partner that she liked, or some guy that she liked, and there are hints as to Hiro being that person in the past somehow. You would think that with that kind of information coming out, that if you liked the show, this would be the thing that would get you hooked for real. But for me, it doesn't. And it sounds like you may feel kind of similarly.
One person that I do care those was Naomi. You know her? Remember her?
Yeah, she's from like the first episode or the first two episodes maybe.
So
she's dead. Girl is dead.
We don't know for sure.
Yeah, but in this episode, he asks like, "Where is she?" and he gets completely shut down.
And to think that like she was, like she quit because of Hiro's incompetence.
No, I don't think she quit. I think she was like sent away.
Yeah, she was sent away. Sorry, she was sent away because of Hiro incompetence. So like Hiro failed to perform, and then Hiro got rescued by 02.
Yep.
And that girl would just like got sent up and get killed or disappear or whatever. Like I do feel bad for her.
Yeah, but she hasn't been a factor in the storyline for what, like 11 episodes now, right?
I know. So
she gone, man.
It because the show doesn't care about her, but I do care about her.
So are you still hanging on to see if Naomi is like gonna pop back up?
That's right.
I bet you anything that she's dead.
I want to know what was the deal with Naomi? Why they treated her that way? Why the show treated her that way?
Oh, it's because it was to demonstrate the fact that Hiro can only sync with 02. Because they've probably synced in the past. I'm guessing that he is like a clone version, or he has the DNA of whatever version of himself used to be partnered up with 02. They're like destined, they're meant to be. And no other woman will do, because they're in true love.
and no man will do as well.
Right. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. She can use other men,
For
other
three
stamens.
times.
Yeah, but they die. Yeah. So that's there. A lot of information dropped about Hero and Zero Two in this last episode, but episodes 9, 10, and 11 all focus on different people. 9 was Goro, 10 was Zorome, and 11 was kind of a mix. It was like Mitsuru and Kokoro and Futoshi.
Yeah. I actually do like the part that they flesh out the characters or the team members. So I do like the fact that, but they haven't been like enough like uh characteristic for me to personally care about them.
Well, they all have like one personality trait. Like
Yeah.
Futoshi is fat and he's always eating, and he's like,
And he loved Kokoro
yes,
to death. That's
yeah,
it.
he to death. Yeah.
That,
Yeah, but she gets taken away. I mean, she volunteers to partner with Mitsuru.
Mhm.
Um,
With this kind of betrayal.
yeah, it's kind of a betrayal, I guess. I mean, Kokoro, she can do whatever she wants. She's not.
Well,
I
when
guess
you
she
pack,
did. I guess she did promise Futoshi, like, yeah, we'll be together forever or something like that.
Mhm.
But she seems to like Mitsuru.
Yep.
They always have those little conversations in that greenhouse.
Yeah, that we guessed that we guessed before.
Yeah, we did. I think we talked about that last time.
Yep.
Um, I don't. One thing that bothers me about this show and about these little standalone episodes where they explore one character
Yep.
is that they always put a nice little bow on top.
Oh.
They always wrap it up too neatly. Like the Goro episode, for example, he confesses his love to Ichigo, but nothing really comes of that. He just says, "Oh, you don't have to respond right away."
Oh, yep.
And then the next episode, he says, "Oh, I hope that didn't make things too awkward." And then that's it. And then the Zorome episode, that's the one where he talks to the old woman and he sees their way of life is very I don't know what's the word for it. It's very structured. It's very sterile. They all live in those little houses.
Isolated.
Yeah. Yes. Isolated. And then he learns some terrible secret apparently because he's talking to her. There's that one scene where she says, "Oh no, we can never be friends or we can never be family because," and then that buzzing noise comes on. It like blocks out a bit of text.
Yep.
You recall that?
Yep.
So he learns some terrible truth, but at the end of the episode, he's back to being like pals with everyone. And then in episode 11, the Mitsuru episode, that's the one. At the end, he says, "When I woke up the next morning, my fever was back to normal." And that's when the really optimistic music starts playing, and then it leads into the ED, and that's it. Even though there's just been a huge shakeup in the character dynamics because there are new partners and he it comes out that he took those injections so that he could keep up with Hero because he really likes Hero.
Mm-hmm.
It just the show is too neat. Every episode is too like pat.
Yeah.
Not a fan of that.
All right.
But episode 12 might shake things up because they're apparently turning into dinosaurs.
All right, for listeners' information, we're gonna watch the next episodes of Darling in the Franxx, episode 13, together with all the first episodes of the new seasons, in order to pick out the how many 4 shows that we will cover for the next seasons.
Right.
So looking forward to that.
Yep. It'll be 10 shows altogether, I think, and Franxx episode 13. I know we're always like 6 days behind with Franxx because we record this on a Friday. The new episode comes out on a Saturday. But episode 13 is right in the middle of the show's run, so I think it's an appropriate one to pick. And we'll see if it makes the cut. I'm thinking it's going to be a big no, but I'll try to be as unbiased as possible.
That's right. I will have that mindset as well.
All right. How about Violet Evergarden?
All right.
Now
Tell me about Violet Evergarden.
I don't know. I kind of want you to tell me about it because you just finished. We are doing episodes 10 to 13, but as far as I know, the most recent episode of anime you watched is the finale of Violet Evergarden. Why don't we
Yeah.
start with the big question: is Gilbert still alive?
Who?
Gilbert, the major, is he alive?
Uh, Maybe the show end on a pretty open-ended note,
Yes,
so he
indeed.
might or might not be alive.
Yeah,
I hope he stay dead.
yeah, me too. I
Uh,
hope that guy's dead.
Otherwise, I don't pretty much feel about that show either. Like the ending, like I just literally just watched the last episodes an hour ago, before the podcast. So it's just like
Hmm.
for 45 minutes ago, and I do think the ending do wrap up everything. So they focus on Violet X, and her development from the beginning to end was a very good one. But aside from that, I do enjoy some of the side story about Violet writing letters. Actually,
Right.
that was my favorite parts of Violet Evergarden.
Yeah, me too.
Um, Otherwise, it just like completely. I just I'm not a fan of the show storytelling.
Well, I know that you. It sounds to me like you didn't like the end too much because that's when it started to get more into the Violet as kind of an
Yeah.
action hero sort of person and trying to fix everything so there wouldn't be any war, all that.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't
That's
really into that either. But how about, because we're doing 10 to 13 here. Last episode we talked about was 9. What do you
yeah.
remember about episode 10? That's the
That
one.
was one of my favorite. That was like my favorite Violet Evergarden episodes.
Yeah, that was one of my
Absolute
favorites too.
favorite. So that was a story about a child, a girl, who have a sick mother, and Violet come to write letters for her mother, and she feel that like her time was her time spent with her mother was taken away from Violet.
Yeah, because it
Uh,
was.
it was, but it
I
was for the greater good.
Was it though? I don't know if I agree with that. If I were her I mean the mom's plan was to write a bunch of letters, like 50 letters, to
Mm-hmm.
be delivered to her daughter, one every year after she had
Mm-hmm.
passed away because she had some sort of terminal illness.
Yep.
So that's a that's a very sweet thought.
Mm-hmm.
But the process by which the letters were written was like like a week long
A week.
intensive series of sessions with
Mm-hmm.
Violet, and her daughter was completely neglected during that time, and I hated that.
Well, yes, that you were right. But come to think about that, Violet actually spent some time with her as
But
well.
that's
And
not the same as her mom spending time with her.
mm-hmm.
I mean, the girl even says at one point,
Yep.
um, "I know you're spending time with me, but it's not you that I want; it's my mom."
Mm,
She says that out loud to Violet,
yeah. And
and it's
but yeah, but that make the episode a bit sad, bittersweet.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely bittersweet. I thought it was like bitter. I don't think I would have done that if I were her mom. Like that's a really neat idea, and you could see at the end like the little montage where they show the girl growing up and receiving those letters year after year. You could see
Yeah.
that those letters really meant a lot to her, and that she turned out great. She found a guy, they had a kid, they settled down.
That
She was emotionally open. She wasn't too deeply scarred. She knew that her mom had loved her, but she put her kid through hell for 7 days,
uh,
and I don't think I don't think that's right.
and well, all right. Apart from that, I love the part that like what you say. She turned out great. That
Yeah,
that actually like she turned out to be normal. She turned out to be like like a normal girl living in that. She not turned out to be someone special. And I really like that idea
yeah.
for some reason.
I agree. I like that she she turned out to have a quiet, like unassuming life,
Yeah,
like a very simple type of happiness.
that's right.
Well, the thing that was, I mean, the thing that it's most gratifying to see is that she found somebody to love. She found a
Mm.
guy because she had abandonment issues with her father.
And she have a happy home to live. So she have a baby, and she was happy. I
Right.
assume.
Yeah. It was nice to see her turn out so well and to
Mm-hmm.
realize that she was loved.
Yep.
Um, but I wouldn't do that as her mom. That's not a decision I would make. I still love the episode. I just
Yep.
wouldn't do that. I would hold my kid as close as I could and just spend every
Right.
moment I had with them.
Actually, I agree with you on that point. Actually, I think it's the best option to just like let her join the section as well. Because why not? Because it's not something meant to be surprised. You can just tell her straight on that like I'm gonna write a letter for you like every single
Huh.
birthday.
Interesting. I hadn't considered that. I think it would take away from how like how meaningful the letters were a little bit, wouldn't it?
Well, but the meaningful part of of this letter then is like her spending time contribute to the letter as well.
Yeah.
So I do think it's a better option anyway.
That's I'm glad you brought that up. That's an interesting perspective. I hadn't thought of that.
Mm, mm. All
The
right,
the main the main reason I liked that episode was because of the kid. I mean, it clearly wasn't a little girl doing the performance. It sounded like an adult playing a kid.
that's right.
But I liked her character design. I liked how childish she was. She thought that Violet was like a real doll,
Yeah.
and for the most part, she really acted like a small kid. Like her frustration, and
Uh,
when she makes her mom cry in that one scene where she says like, "You don't really care about me," her
mhm,
mom starts to cry, and she runs away. And so when Violet chases her,
mhm,
and the little girl says like the what she hates most is that she made her mommy cry.
mhm.
That's exactly what a kid would do. They would
Yeah.
like turn everything inward and just blame themselves.
Yeah, and I love that the fact that she a kid, so like everything she spell out. Like the show love to spell out what they think, what they want us to think, to feel. And because she was she the kid, so like everything she spell out is like appropriate. It's not
Right.
it doing no harm to the story. It never feel like ham fisted.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are some people who, whenever a kid shows up on their screen, whether it's a cartoon kid or a real kid or just a child of any kind, they're like, "Oh, get me out of here! I don't want to. I don't want to look at this. I get enough
Oh,
of kids in my real life."
oh.
Uh, but
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
that's not me. Like I like the episode. I thought it was a good portrayal of
All
um,
right.
you know what it was going for.
How you think about the episode 10? So that's about
That
the
was
sol-
we just talked about episode 10.
Oh, really?
11,
So
11 is the one with the dying soldier.
oh yeah, sorry. Yep. So what about episode 11?
I didn't really care about it.
The the letters from the dead.
Right.
So it
The dying soldier. Violet wrote two letters for him, one to his parents and one to his the the his childhood friend who.
become a fiance.
No, they
Oh,
didn't, did they?
they just become a partner, a
Yeah, like
couple.
she confessed her love, or he did, somebody did, but he was shipped off to
She
war
did.
before they got a chance
Yeah.
to start things up.
You
I
know
didn't
that
I didn't really
that
like that episode.
yeah. All right. So that
How
got
about
me
you?
thinking. It's alright. It's not that good. It's not that bad. Actually, like one side note. Uh, those are the letters from the dead, so that's make it a will, right?
I mean, I guess if he was bequeathing stuff to people, if he was saying, "I leave this to you and I leave this to you," I don't think that was what was in the letter.
All right. Let's get back to the episodes. One thing that I know that that people notice about that episode is the anime changes a lot from the light novels materials.
Oh,
So
how
from
so?
the yeah, so from the light novels, Violet was much more badass. So um, so she was like kill every enemies then.
Oh, in the light
They
novel, she killed everybody.
yeah, she killed everybody. The forest was set into flames, so she had to carry him in the back, go out of that flaming forest, and then try to written down the letters, the dying letters. So that was like very badass, very like action heroes,
I
heroine.
I thought that she was already kind of badass in that episode, like jumping out of the airplane like that, and doing that little ninja run super fast.
Yeah,
She ran around and like took one
and
guy, kind of grabbed one guy around the neck, and one of their commanders like, "Oh no, you're the war maiden of Leidenschaft or whatever."
yeah,
Oh no, we're
that
no match for her. Retreat.
that make it her more badass in the anime was like she she tried she retrained herself not to kill everyone.
Right. Yeah, that came up a lot in the finale as well. I don't want to
Yeah,
kill anybody. I don't want to kill anybody.
yeah,
In fact, when she's standing on top
all
of
right,
that, when they're having that fight on top of the train in episode 12
yeah,
or 13, whatever, uh, there's one bad guy who she's knocked unconscious or something, is about to fall off the train to his death. So
yeah,
she turns around and pulls him back on, and as a result, she gets completely wrecked. She,
yeah,
like, people start
yeah.
stabbing her, kicking her.
That man. All right, how you think about the last two episodes, the
Uh,
finale?
to be honest, everything in the show that has to do with war, I'm completely uninterested in. And the reason for that is because we don't know anything about the war. We don't have any context. We just know that there was a war, that there are people who want the war to continue, and that war is bad. But we don't know
Mm-hmm.
like the political or economic reasons for it. So as a
Mm-hmm.
result, whenever there's one of these conflicts between these two nations that we don't know anything about, I just tune out completely because I like why are they fighting? Why should I care about why they're fighting?
Yep,
Violet's involvement is not enough.
yep. All right, and they also have like some one up brief flashback between her and Gilbert again, which at that point another flashback, it just completely turned me off. Like
What happened in the flashback?
uh at the flashback it was they was in the tent. That was
Oh yes.
before the final attack,
Yep.
and he told her something about the others. So like not taking any others because he regarded her as pupil, not as a tool. And
What?
she told him that like she thinks she has some feeling, but she doesn't know what her feeling is, what she feel, stuff like.
Right. She can't express herself.
Yeah,
That's the scene where he's like yelling at her and trying to get her to feel frustration and anger, just so she'll
yeah,
express some kind of emotion.
that's right.
Um,
And that
I,
just make me thinking why they don't put that back into the episode 8, the one big flashback that I consider the worst episodes of Violet Evergarden.
yeah, that's the speaking of episode 8 and 9, because those are the ones where we get the flashback to her,
Yep.
the big war stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You noted that episode 9 feels kind of like a conclusion because Violet comes to terms with her violent past.
Yep, yep.
And I really felt that in episode 13 in the finale. I was like, there's a big sense of closure that they're going for here, but we've kind of already gotten that for episode
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
13.
Yep.
So I'm not really into what's happening on screen right now. I don't like I don't know.
I s-
Oh, the main thing that I didn't like was Gilbert's brother, like
mm-hmm,
blaming her for his death and stuff.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
him having to work through the fact that Violet has changed. Well, Violet is the main character. It's her arc that we were following, and she already has worked through it. So
Mm-hmm.
why now are we getting this little miniature side story with a character having to work through his own thing? We don't know about him. We don't care about him.
Yeah, that's right. Ah.
I just did
One
not
thing, one
didn't feel it.
all right. One thing I do like about the last 5 minutes of the last episodes was the new development, the new relationship between
What
our
with his
cast.
mom?
No, no, no. So that comforter, that's about remember the one girl from Memory Doll, the girl with
Luculia
glasses.
or something.
No,
Oh
no,
no, I know who you're talking
Erica,
about. Yes.
Erica, and she had the I think apparently she got a new boyfriend, and that
No, she
was
started liking
Benedict.
someone.
Uh,
She said I started liking someone. Yeah, and it was Benedict.
and so what's the deal between Benedict and Catelia?
We never learned. We never knew.
And we actually never know much about Catelia as a character as well.
No, we don't.
So like on the characters that from the light novels, we actually don't know much about them. And
Are you
that's a
saying that
shame.
in the light novel we don't know anything about Catalia?
No. So I mean, like Catelia was the character that's already appeared in the light novels.
And we know the least about her from
And we know
the
the list about her.
right,
For
right.
many anime original characters, we actually have some of their own development, so we know a bit about them,
Yeah. Yep.
but not, yeah, that's what I meant. So we don't know much about Benedict as well, or the other guy who uh who start the memory door. What his name?
Claudia.
Claudia. Sorry.
Claudia. He's also referred to as Hodgins. Like that was his last name.
Yeah.
Because he was a lieutenant. They called him Lieutenant Hodgins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't. There are a lot of characters about whom we don't know much because the show is very heavily focused in on Violet, and from episode to episode on new characters.
So
But there is going to be another work set in the Violet and Evergarden universe.
Yeah.
I've heard. Yeah, I don't know whether it's going to be a movie, a TV show, an OVA. Who knows? I mean, this series was already set for 14 episodes.
yeah.
Now at 13, it's ended. So I'm pretty sure that 14th episode is going to be an OVA when the Blu-rays come out.
Mm-hmm.
But even apart from that, there's some other project in the works.
All right. What do you think about the show as a whole?
It had probably 4 episodes that I really liked, and those would be 3, 5, 10, and some other one in there somewhere.
All right.
And apart from that, I really could take or leave all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yep.
the main thing about the show is that it looks nice, but I think it even messed that up.
Yeah.
With-
Well, I do think that's all the scenes that in the dark that was too dark.
Yes,
When I,
it
when
was.
I- whenever I take the screenshots, it was too dark to see anything.
Yeah, really, really, really dark, and just a bunch of effects smeared all over the screen. Bloom, depth of field was used like it was way too much.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard the term forced animation?
Forced, you say?
Yeah, forced. A lot of
Yeah.
people when they're discussing a show and they don't like the look of it, they'll say, "Oh, it had forced animation," and that doesn't really mean too much on its own.
No.
It's just something that people say when they don't like how something looks or how it moves. But in this show, I really got a sense that there was too concentrated an effort on making it cinematic.
Yeah.
If you want to make your show look cinematic, you do what After the Rain did, and you
Nope,
frame your
that's right.
shots cinematically instead of taking your shots and adding effects to them.
I agree.
So just
And-
not a fan of Violet Evergarden, really.
Yeah.
Uh,
And like I mentioned in some previous podcasts, that compare Violet Evergarden to After the Rain, and you see like many problems with Violet Evergarden, like you said, regarding the animations, or regarding the storytelling, or regarding the soundtrack, the score. That everything After the Rain they did much better, much more.
Yeah.
Like in the service of the whole story of the theme that they wanted to reach.
Yeah, I agree completely. But the thing is that more people will have seen Violet Evergarden, and even among the people who have seen both, more people will like Violet Evergarden because I don't know. I just the stories it tells are a little simpler, probably. They're
Straightforward.
They're shorter, and the show is more overt. It is. It's a It's a tearjerker. It's about a girl who doesn't understand anything or or she can't express her feelings, and she learns what it means to love and how people connect and stuff. It's very
Yeah.
it's very big. It's very broad. So
It's
people are gonna like
very-
that.
I agree. It's very meaningful. It's very straightforward. All right.
Yeah. Uh, it's fine. I don't know. I won't. I don't think I'll remember it in a year. I won't be thinking about it. It'll probably take less than that. Honestly,
I,
don't
I,
really
I will
think very
rate
much
it
of it.
personally 7 out of 10.
Okay.
So
I rate it.
like in yep
I rate it. It was
6.
okay out of 10. That's
Right.
my rating.
Um. So what is your top 5 anime for the last seasons?
Right. Okay. I was the one who proposed this idea to you, and then I forgot about it. But I'll
You have one on your list.
I have a top 3.
All right. Tell
And
me.
honestly, I don't really care that much about anything else to rank a 4th or a 5th.
All right.
So number 1 is After the Rain.
Yep.
Number 2, Pop Team Epic. Number
Pop Team
3,
Epic.
yeah. Number
Mm.
3, Devilman Crybaby.
Yep.
And I guess I haven't finished A Place Farther Than the Universe. I really like that show at the start. Not so much
Yep.
as it's coming down the home stretch, but
How-
I think that when the show finishes, I'll probably appreciate it. So that 4th probably, and then 5 I don't really care.
Hey, how about Three Gatsu no Line?
Oh, is that in the running?
Yeah, I would say so. Yes.
Okay, then I After the Rain and Three Gatsu tie for 1st, which means that Pop Team Epic is 3rd, Crybaby
Right.
is 4th, and Place Further Than the Universe is 5th.
All right. My list is kind of similar to yours. So I got number 1 as After the Rain, obviously.
Yep.
Number 2 at Three Gatsu no Line.
Okay.
Number 3 will be Devilman Crybaby. Number 4 will be The Disastrous Life of Psyche K.
Right? Okay.
And number 5 will be A Place Further Than the Universe.
Okay. So I think we had 4 out of the 5 shows
Yep.
in the same
But-
same top 5.
I must give memorable
Honorable mention.
honorable mentions to Hakume and Mikochi and Yuru Camp. That's the two side of that show that I really enjoyed. But I don't have too many things to talk about it. But I do enjoy like every week that I come to watch those shows.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch Yuru Camp, Comfy Camp, eventually.
Comfy Camp. Let Back Camp. That was the English title.
Yeah, they really missed an opportunity to call it Comfy Camp. That it was staring them right in the face.
Yeah, that's right.
I do plan on watching that eventually. I think I might put it into one of my like 2008 wrap up tournaments.
Yep.
So I might be delaying it for a while until I get enough material for that. But I've heard nice things about it, and it's really interesting to me that show kicked off a trend of like otaku going out and camping.
Oh wow.
In Japan, it did that.
Amazing.
Yeah, it got them to leave their rooms.
Well, I know for a fact that Nick Creamer from
Right.
Rome
Bob Duck.
Time, he loved that show that he come out to have like a Japanese dinner that's just like what they show on the show.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
Yep. All right. I know that we haven't talked much about Devilman Crybaby on our podcast. So do you want to like say a bit about that? The shows.
I don't know. We still have to do 5 episodes of Rose of Versailles,
That's right.
and we're already an hour and 14 minutes in.
All right. So let's get to the Rose of Versailles.
Yeah. Maybe we can do Crybaby later if we remember.
Well,
Okay, Rose of Versailles. It's old.
yeah,
That's probably what we should say first. Is that it's really old and it shows its age.
well, I think it's a product of its time.
Yeah.
So there are many elements that we don't see in the like technical aspect that we don't see nowadays. And I think it's kind of have like even like the storytelling as well. It has like some storytelling that we don't see much today, or even like in today regards, we don't regard it very highly because it have been aged, it have been dated.
So
But
what I
yep.
can see what you mean on a visual level because it's like night and day between
Yep.
this show and I mean although Rose of Versailles is credited for establishing a lot of the shojo
Mm-hmm.
tropes and a lot of the shojo kind of visual cues that series will adhere to even today, like the big sparkly eyes and the flowers and the sparkles in the background.
Yep.
Um, that was apparently something that the Rose of Versailles manga really innovated,
Mm-hmm.
and so the show would be credited for that as well.
Yep.
So visually, yeah, it's definitely a product of its time, and there's stuff that we don't see anymore, and that maybe we don't appreciate as much. But when you say that the story, we don't appreciate the story as much, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean the storytelling in the Road of Versailles is more like a soap opera that
Okay,
like everything had to be grand, had everything had to be big, every emotion had to be like spell out. And for the show credit, I don't think I think that's speak to its strength. That's like one of its strength. But like in today, if the show had make it in today, like Violet Evergarden, I will be harsh on that. I'm not. Yep. So that's what I mean by that.
okay, yeah, it's definitely soapy. But when you say that the emotions are really big, I think
Yeah.
that's actually characteristic of anime. I think that in
Yeah.
a lot of anime, there's like a lot of shouting, a lot of crying, a lot of screaming,
It, it
a lot of emotions that are like put right on screen for you to see,
well
and that goes across genres.
yeah, well that even to the motive of the show as well. So every time you see like Madame du Barry, the
Yeah.
you know her, right?
Yes,
You
of
you will
course. I hate
you
her.
well you will see like her wrecking something, her gonna break something. So
That happens in shojo, and well, I mean maybe not the
say
constant smashing of mirrors and vases and stuff. But there, I mean, I really think that anime has stuff like that going on. Maybe not the specifics, not the huge temper tantrums. Actually, you know what has stuff like that is like J dramas and K dramas.
all right.
The
Yep.
last K drama that I tried to watch, it was Full House. It was the one that we were talking about.
Oh, yep.
By the time I got to episode 3, the girl was throwing tantrums every like 15 minutes, like stamping her foot and sticking out her lower lip and like pouting.
And you had to stop that.
Yeah, I couldn't handle it anymore. I mean, I'm getting way off topic here, but in the first episode of Full House, I liked how she was kind of flirty, like she was a little bit sexy,
Yep.
and that just disappeared as the show went on, and I had to stop.
Mm.
Uh, so
Oh,
I don't know why I
yep.
started talking about that. Let's talk about Rose of Versailles. So you were talking about Madame Dewberry. To me,
Yep.
there was a very clear break between the first two episodes, which were more focused on Oscar,
Mm-hmm.
and the episodes 3, 4, and 5, which were more about the intrigue that was going on in the court. They were more about Dewberry
Uh,
versus Marie Antoinette.
yep.
So which did you like better?
Uh, well,
The stuff about Oscar or the stuff said in the court?
I like both of them the same. I like,
Really?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Talk more about that, I guess.
Well, like they have this for me like the two story have same theme about like like the woman role in that society. So like
Okay.
even Oscar, she have to choose between like becoming a woman or becoming a man. So
Yeah.
so like
I
so like
yeah.
yeah. And that's good the same with Marie Antoinette, the fight between Marie Antoinette and Dewberry as well. So I do think it's like it's the story, the show at its heart is like the story about woman uh, like trying to overcome their role as a woman in
I
society.
I don't know, man. I think I don't think I agree at all.
All right.
I think that Oscar's story,
Mm-hmm.
having she was like raised as a boy. That's what her
Mm-hmm.
father really wanted for her. And so, but she in her heart she wants to be a woman. Like she's not shy about that.
Mm-hmm.
And in that fight between her and her best friend Andre, the guy with the
Yeah.
brown hair,
Uh-huh.
in the first episode, he realizes that she really does want to be a woman, and she doesn't want
Mm-hmm.
to be like she doesn't want her dad to control her life, but she
Mm-hmm.
does accept the position of the commander of the royal guard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But she's conflicted. There's kind of a war going on inside of Oscar as to how she should act and what like gender role she should adhere to.
Yep. Yep.
Whereas the Dewberry versus Marie Antoinette thing, they're not. It's true that they're both like powerful women, and they I don't know, they have to figure out their place in the court by fighting with each other and not talking to each other.
Yep.
But there's no they're both like really bullheaded. There's not a lot of nuance to their conflict. They're just at odds.
Yeah. That was
Whereas
really like a girly fight, like what they
that's
said, a petty fight.
yeah, exactly. It was. I mean, it's 2018, so I shouldn't be saying this, but it was like, it was a very girly conflict. It was, and the show even says that like multiple times. That it's
Mm-hmm.
Marie Antoinette is kind of caught in a battle between all the king's sisters, so they're her
Yep.
aunt, they're her aunts by marriage, and Dewberry, who has seduced the king.
Mm-hmm.
It's a giant bitch fight,
Mm-hmm.
and and Marie Antoinette is caught in the middle of it. But rather than being conflicted like Oscar is, she completely sides with her aunts, and she
Mm-hmm.
is like gung ho about not talking to this woman because of her her background.
Her uprising. Yeah.
Yeah, the she was born a commoner and she was a prostitute and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean I didn't like any of the stuff that was said in the court. Especially the fact that it was a little repetitive.
Yeah.
In both episodes 4 and 5, it starts with Dewberry like crying crocodile tears,
Mm-hmm.
like faking it and getting the king outraged at the fact that he's being disrespected because people are disrespecting her. That happens in both of those episodes.
Yep.
And then in both of them, Marie is warned by what's her mom sends a guy there to be like her counselor or watch out for her. What was his name? It was
I don't remember.
Count
Yep.
Count Mercy,
All right.
the
Yeah.
guy with the gray hair who shows
Yeah,
up in France. In both of those episodes, he warns her, "Oh, you have to talk to this woman. You can't just keep snubbing her in court because then there could be war. Like there'll be
Mhm.
political consequences." That happens
Yep.
in both those episodes. And then she protests for a while, and then she eventually wants to go through with it, and she finally does in episode 5. That was like 2 episodes that could have been condensed into one.
Yeah, and it was in the New Year event, New Year Eve event. So like it could be, I think she could do that without, like have like all the scenarios before that.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
could have happened earlier.
but
Did you notice that there was a 6 month break between the time that she tries to talk to her and then she gets pulled away by one of her aunts,
oh
and
god,
then
yeah.
then there was a 6 month time skip to the new year, like you said, and
All
that's
right.
when she finally talked to her and said, "Hello, there's a lot of people in Versailles here today, aren't
and
there?"
then she run away.
Yeah, she runs away down that metaphorical staircase
Oh,
while Madame
yeah.
Dewberry is like
Laugh.
laughing maniacally.
All right, that the storytelling that I was mentioning. It
Okay,
just,
yeah, yeah.
like it's like soap opera to me.
Yeah,
Uh,
it is.
and I didn't appreciate the one fact that, like you remember, Dewberry tried to frame Oscar mom for poisoning,
Yes.
yeah, her, and like in the end, it just like Oscar came in, and then everything back to normal. Like
Yeah.
there actually there was one dead body over there, and they just like gloss over the issues. Like there was no investigation or anything whatsoever.
Well, that was. I mean, I can accept that. Like you get rid of the body
And
somehow. You call one of your attendants, or
the same
she's.
can. You're right. You continue. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that she's poisoned someone before. We learned this about her when we're first introduced to her.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
poisoned
Well.
her husband as soon as they got married.
And then
So she's accustomed to doing like to shady business like this. So it really doesn't surprise me that she was able to get off scot free, like
right
um, with no punishment.
consequences. Yeah.
Yeah, consequences exactly.
And the same can be said to the all the scheme that they want to replace or whatever with Marie Antoinette when she went to the border.
Yeah, in episode 2, yes.
Yeah, so that was they would try to replace her with a boy.
No, it was a woman, wasn't it?
I I figure it was a boy who imposed her. I I will check on that again.
I think it's a
Uh,
woman just because the eyelashes were really long. But it is a little hard to tell the difference. Well, I mean, a lot of the men are wearing like hats or powdered wigs in the
yep,
show. But in terms of facial features, I think the show there's a lot of similarity between
that's right.
men and women. Like Andre in particular looks kind of feminine,
Yep,
and
and
Oscar kind of
yep.
looks a little bit masculine. And I think that's the point of the show. Really, is
Hmm.
I mean that makes it more believable that Oscar would be able to fill like both of these roles and be conflicted about is she a man, is she a woman?
Yep.
But I
And
think that was a girl.
well,
Her name was well, she did have like a masculine name. Her name was
yeah,
John.
that's why I take her as a boy.
Okay.
All right, and on that very same sequence, we we have like one of the guy who mentioned his name, and he killed him on spot,
Yeah,
which
that's
was
the Duke
very
Duke of
stupid.
Orleans.
Yeah, that was which was very stupid because
Yes, it was.
yeah, but I can look over that issues because it was like 40 years old
Yeah.
anime. Wow, it's
I
40
mean,
years old.
it does the idea that he would be killing people, like, do you remember the scene where he wants the gun to explode in the prince's face
Mm-hmm.
in order to
Yep.
kill him so that he
Yeah,
can eventually ascend to the throne?
Yeah, yeah,
He kills the guy who makes the gun.
yeah.
That makes sense because he
That
wants to
makes
shut
sense.
that guy's mouth. But
Mhm.
yeah, what you're talking about in episode 2, where he kills a guy just for, I don't know, showing up late or something.
No. So he was mentioning his name.
Yes, that's right. He said his name out loud.
Yeah, and then she said like you're not allowed to say my name out loud, and then he killed the guy. That was stupid to me because because
Yeah.
it was supposed to be a secret plan, so they need as much manpower as they need, and then he
Yeah,
just
but it won't be secret anymore if you say the guy's name.
and
I
then
guess that was his reasoning.
you leave a body on a spot. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was dumb. But like you said, I can forgive the show
Yeah.
for how melodramatic it is and how stupid it is in places. The funniest thing to me, the thing that's the most dated, is there are some scenes where a character will learn like a shocking bit of truth, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
you'll hear like a weird chord played on an auto harp or a harpsichord or something, some kind of,
yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
and then sometimes the screen will like shift to a completely different color, and then that person's face
That-
will be big. There'll be a close up. They'll be like shocked.
Yeah.
That is, I always get a kick out of that. In fact, sometimes it makes me laugh like out loud as I'm watching.
All right, you
This is-
remember like the first few seconds come into the show where there was thunders and like on the character design whenever the thunders come right. Uh, the character design become like a shade of like blue gray, like you know what I mean.
Not really. I know what you mean about like lightning flashing, and are you talking
And
about the characters like becoming silhouettes because the
yeah,
lighting changes?
yeah, that's right. That's what
Yeah.
that's what I meant. So it was a bit putting me off as well, but I think it does have its purpose.
I actually like the way the show looks.
All right.
I like it. First of all, it's kind of charming to me to see how things used to be. I've never watched. I've watched stuff that's animated that's this old. I mean Disney films, but I've never seen anime that's this old.
Yep.
And I like seeing when they're trying to depict rain. The rain is just going. It's going from the top of the screen to the bottom. It's not actually hitting anything. There's no contact being made. It's just a bunch of like white flashes that are going across the screen. To me, that's like very cute. I enjoy seeing that. And there was a scene in episode 5. So that's the most recent one for us, at least, where Oscar, like Marie Antoinette, asks Oscar's opinion. Do you think I should actually talk to Madame Dubarry in court? And Oscar's talking to her like, with respect. I think that you should, because you've fallen under the influence of these women, the king's sisters. And as she's explaining all this to her, there's a bunch of really inventive visual stuff going on. Like the screen, it's going to be really difficult for me to explain this. You see a close up of Marie Antoinette, and then her profile line, like the side of her face, her eyes and her nose and stuff. The whole screen gets dark around that, and then you start to see what Marie Antoinette is imagining as taking place inside her silhouette, like inside her mind.
All right.
But you can see the outline of her, like her nose and her lips and stuff. And characters keep like entering the frame inside this space of the screen, and then eventually it all gets like engulfed in flames. And then when Oscar is done talking, it slowly reverts back to normal. I don't know how good a job I'm doing of explaining it, but I was like really impressed by how it looked.
Well,
especially since it was done 40 years ago. But even now, if an anime were to attempt something like that, I'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool.
well, if you watch Utena, it's gonna be a lot like that as well. I think Utena really was influenced by this show.
I have no doubt. I haven't seen Utena, but I know about the character designs, and the eyes are so similar to what's going on in Rose of Versailles.
And the rose.
The what?
The rose on the roses.
Oh yes, yeah. The use of flowers to represent, specific emotions and like femininity and all that. Yeah, it's influential for sure. That's my understanding anyway. I mean, I don't have a great knowledge of anime history. I know more than most people, I'm sure, but it'll be exciting to watch, like stuff from the 80s and the 90s and how the influence trickled down. And I'm sure, like you say, Utano is one of the big, like the noteworthy examples.
So after the first 5 episodes, what you think? What you feel in general for that show?
I honestly loved the first episode so much. I was really intrigued by Oscar's character, about how like it's true that she's a woman who was raised as a man, and there is conflict within her, but she's a very straight shooter. She doesn't have time for like a lot of the when Andre kind of wants to gossip with her. She doesn't have time for that. She's just like, shut up and let's fight, or or no, Dad, I'm not going to do what you tell me. And when she eventually does agree to put on the uniform and take the position, she says, I'm not doing this for you or for anybody else. It's for myself. So I loved Oscar after the first episode, and I was totally on board. Second episode, she goes on that little mission. That's fine. Episodes 3 through 5, all the court drama stuff, especially episodes 3 and 4, it's just so much of the same stuff. So much of the same crap over and over. With Dubarry like throwing fits and wondering, is this finally going to be the time when this little girl talks to me?
And go on, sorry.
I'll just wrap up really fast. Like I'm not interested in Marie Antoinette's character. I don't think she's very nuanced or interesting. I think that she is, kind of a baby.
Well, she gonna be a main character, so you
Yes,
have.
yes, she is, and I expect that the show will handle her well and will bring her from her relative immaturity now into. I mean, because it's going to be set during the French Revolution,
Yep.
so we know what Marie Antoinette is going to do, but right now she's just petulant and whiny, and I
Yep.
don't appreciate that Oscar has been pushed a little bit into the background. So I'm waiting for Oscar to come back, and I'm waiting for Marie Antoinette to change.
And there will be one main characters that yet to appear that uh, they actually introduce us to that guy names,
Yeah,
which
I
I don't
saw him. His
remember
name is
now.
like Fersen or Fesren or Fer
Yeah.
something. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's on that hill as the sun is setting. He's watching the procession ride by
Oh,
as Marie Antoinette is being taken to France.
all right.
Do you remember that, right? I think that's what you were
Mhm.
referring to.
Yeah, yeah.
He shows
I
up, but like only for a little bit at the end of
well,
one episode.
I was mentioned. I was refer to the narrative that said that tell us that the guy will become very important.
Yeah, I'm talking about the same guy.
Oh, yep, yep.
Yeah, the narrator says that their destinies are all going to be like intertwined and they're going to be complex and stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I'm
So
assuming there's going to be some sort of like love triangle as well, because Marie
between
Antoinette between those three,
mm,
and Andre too. Andre's going to get in there somehow, I assume,
well,
because he's the childhood friend.
I don't think so because I don't think that there is any love interest between Oscar and Maria Antoinette. Not really sure that.
I mean, what? Well, first of all, Marie Antoinette was interested in him when she assumed that he was a man, because she doesn't learn that Oscar's a woman until the
Mhm.
end of that episode where she gets rescued.
Yep.
But even then, she's after she learns that Oscar's a woman, she's like, "Oh, that's interesting."
Yep.
Do you remember all the scenes set at court where all the women were like, "Oh, Oscar, she's so she's so
Handsome.
cold." Yeah,
Yep.
she's so handsome and she's so cold, but that's why she's so irresistible.
Yep.
This is something that I see in a lot of anime, actually, even modern ones. Like between, let's say, some high school first year and
Yep.
her like really beautiful senpai,
Yep.
there'll be kind of a little bit of a crush going on from the younger girl to the older girl, and not necessarily romantic or sexual, but kind of like an attraction and even an obsession.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if the gender fluidity that's going on in this show will
Mhm.
like transform into a romance between them.
All right.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. Like after 5 episodes, I still pretty on board on that
Okay,
on the
good.
show.
Cool.
Yep.
So it's
I think the act that we're watching now on the fight on the court will end soon. Hopefully
good.
so. Hopefully, I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the shows at all.
Me neither. Me neither.
But
Um,
well,
Go
consider
ahead.
it's like 49 episodes. They're gonna be
It's
like a lot of
it's 40.
40. Is it 40? There gonna
Yep.
be a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean they've got the French Revolution to get through.
Yep.
So hopefully that hurries up and starts and people start getting their heads cut off.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I'm ready to.
But it seems based on our conversation that you weren't too put off by the political stuff. Like you kind of
Uh,
viewed it as being even with what came before. Is that accurate or no?
Nah, you said I was put up by the political stuff. No, I don't.
Okay. Yeah.
I was.
I definitely
Yeah.
I definitely was.
All right.
So there's a bit of difference in the way that we're processing the show right now.
Yeah.
But you say that you're on board. I am too. Like,
Yep.
I'm interested in the show as kind of a history lesson in anime,
Mm-hmm,
and also I really like Oscar. I have hope that Oscar will come to be like one of my favorite anime characters.
all right. Finger crossed.
Yeah, for sure. All right, are we anything else that we want to talk about?
Nah, I think we done enough for this week.
Yeah, an hour and 40 minutes is probably good.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening for like 100 minutes of us
Yeah,
talking
thanks.
about anime. So next week we will do something different. So next week we're gonna take like 10 shows from the new seasons, and we're gonna talk a bit about them and then rank them down. And afterwards we're gonna pick 4 shows out of that 10 shows for us to plot for the next seasons.
Yeah, this is always my favorite part of the year. Not necessarily
Uh,
the spring season, but like watching new shows and picking which ones you really want to focus on for
yeah,
the
me
next three
too.
months. I really
Uh,
like that.
Whooper, you like us to tell about the name of the 10 shows, or you want that for next week?
Let's just save it for next week.
Yep.
I think that'll be fine. It saves us having to pronounce some weird Japanese words, and this
Oh,
podcast is already long enough.
we still have to pronounce some weird Japanese word next week.
Right. Well, let's save that challenge for then.
Alright. Alright then. Thanks for
Thanks,
listening,
everybody.
guys. See ya.
Bye bye.
Bye.